It's hard to believe, but fall really is just around the corner, which means it's time to think of fall veggies. Jim Wolf from the IFAS Pasco Extension Office. I always struggle with that one, Jim. It's a lot, but we got to get it right because you are one of our favorites to come on and talk about plants. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I mean, it really is the time, and you're telling me the time, literally best time for vegetables.
Yeah, you know, where I grew up, we were harvesting them in August, and here we're planting them for the winter. And a lot of people just don't understand that this is the time we have to get them in before frost, which can happen usually around Christmas time. Otherwise, we won't get a crop. So that's why so many people are disappointed. And you were saying earlier how you're trying to maintain a garden, and I'm going to get you to grow some veggies at your home
Deal.
This fall into winter.
Deal. Okay, so I just want to kind of back up and reiterate, though. You're saying this is the time to plant now so that it has time to grow and harvest before.
Certain vegetables need it warm and can't take the frost, so we plant peppers, tomatoes, squashes, eggplants, green beans, pumpkins, if you want to try it for the kids. It'll be hard to get a harvest for Halloween here, but you know, we have so many great vegetables that are planted right now at the end of August.
And I know you brought some examples for us to see. What are some of your favorites that maybe are the least user-friendly, if you will?
Well, you know, basil is always a great herb to have, and we can grow it much of the year, but you could plant it now. Peppers, chili peppers, hot peppers, sweet peppers, you know, the sky's the limit. They're delicious, nice and fresh. But number one is tomato.
Okay.
Everyone wants to grow a tomato. And so today I thought we'd get your hands dirty.
He's putting me to work. He's putting me to work.
Here I have it's a fairly small plant.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to get the big plant that they can find at the nursery in these small little pots, but I look for the small ones in these pots because I know they haven't been in there that long and haven't gotten too pot bound.
Oh, okay.
In fact, you can just start seeing the roots coming out of this one. So it's time to be transplanted into a container already.
And here was my kind of question as I saw Jim setting up for this segment here. You brought up, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're going pot or whether you're going into your ground. The similar characteristics of what to do are the same.
Yeah, the characteristics and timing are the same, but you know, preparation of soil can take a while. So for those of us that don't have the soil already prepped, that now is the time to put them in. Do it in a container and use potting mix, such as yourself in your own yard. You know, one of these years you may have a big vegetable garden, but in the meanwhile, a container is a great way to start.
A container is a great. I was gonna say, what are your? I know we didn't for time purposes, but just what do you put in the bottom? What are some tips so people can do it right?
This was a clean nursery pot. I put in a couple of sheets of newspaper, not rocks, to keep the soil from coming out of the big holes that you can see in the front.
Newspaper.
Right, and it keeps that soil from washing out at first until the roots start to kind of hold the soil in place. And then I filled it up with a potting mix that I purchased at the nursery.
Okay.
And I fill it to about an inch or so of the top, and then I'm going to make a hole in the center.
So you just start digging? I'm going to make the hole.
And don't make it too deep. A lot of people make it too deep.
Yes, I was going to say, we've actually talked about that before on the show, which kind of surprises me.
You can kind of see we want to be a little less than...
Okay, is that too deep, or what do you think?
Let me put my finger in. About right. We can make it a little bigger.
Okay, what was that? You got to share that little tip.
Well, I just kind of put my finger, and yeah, it's a quick measure.
Okay.
So that's about right. Now I'm going to remove this plastic rim. I'll just clip that, and we'll peel that back. This is kind of the dull part, but you don't want to plant that because, you know, it's going to inhibit the plant from, you want to pull that off for me?
Absolutely.
And then what I like to do is I put the label so I remember what it is.
Smart.
So we remember what type of tomato, if we liked it or didn't like it for that matter. And I like to peel this back a little bit so it doesn't act like a wick and dry out the plant. So just kind of peel this back just like you're doing, and we'll compost that in our garden later on. And you don't have to peel it all off, but it's below where I'm going to pot it now.
Oh, okay.
Because if it were above here, it works like a wick, and then when the roots hit this fiber pot, they dry out.
Can't be good.
It's not good. So now I'll put it in there, and you can kind of see it's a little high, so we may need to make our hole just a touch deeper, but it's easier to do.
And again, you keep it in that hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a fiber pot like this. Now, if it were a plastic pot, I would obviously remove it. And then so people can see what we're doing, you just put the soil over there, and you know, plants are rough and tumble. Now push down a little bit to firm that soil and get your hands a little dirty.
Well, as always, you know, things that tend to run quick here are segments. The one thing I do want to talk to you about, though, is I know you brought some fertilizers and some tips. So people already, say they have a garden already working and they're like, okay, but I'm struggling with it. What are some of your tips to keep them flourishing to really get those best veggies?
There are different types of fertilizers. This is a liquid that you would read the directions and mix it up into your flower pot, so you could water that. I usually start at half the strength listed on the box, and then move to full strength when the plant gets more established. So you could water it with that. If you'd like to do it real simply, over the course of time, there's some great products out there. You can kind of hear it sounds like BBs, and let me show you what that looks like.
Okay.
Without dropping it everywhere. It looks like BBs.
Well, and I got to ask, I know you got a few more. Real quick, what's your favorite and easiest fertilizer to use that you'd recommend?
I like these long-term granular that last the whole season. I put them on the surface of the pot when I start, and every time I water it, fertilizes the plant.
Okay, good stuff. I was going to say, really appreciate your time and your tips. At some point, we need to check out your garden because I am sure it's pretty good. Of course, there's the phone number if you want more information. And I know you've got an event coming up on Saturday.
I have an event on Saturday on vegetable gardening. We'll be talking about containers or even in the garden. We'll be talking about all the timing and tips and tricks.
There you go.
It's at the Extension office in Dave City.
There you go. Well, we are going to continue our theme of fall planting with a visit from Sweetwater Organic Community Farm. So let's send it over to Carly.